Hello, I'm Kathleen, and I want to welcome you to this session of Godly Play at Clayton Valley Presbyterian Church. Godly Play is something we typically offer in person for children ages 3 and up, but we're glad to know that you're watching today. If you have any feedback for us or have questions, please let us know. You can reach us at cvpress@sbcglobal.net. When we come to this room from the sanctuary, the teachers greet the children at the door, and as we come to the circle, we always start the same way. The Lord be with you. And one of the people at our circle comes over to the calendar of the church year, this great circle that's unlike other calendars. And we look to see where we are in the church year, a year that has no beginning and no end. We see we're in the ordinary time of green and growing Sundays. And then we come back to the circle and we get ready to come close to the story for today, because we know that the word is in this story for each person at the circle, and that word may be different for each one at the circle. Every box, every tray, every basket in this room is a story. And once you've heard a story, it's yours forever. So it's important to watch where the storyteller goes to get the story. You have to know where to find it, because you can work with it anytime you're in this room. And of course, put it back so that others can find it as well. The stories like this that have a name, they're about how God comes close to one person. And we usually find them below the other stories that tell us about how God came close to the people. So today we can see, we're going to hear about Samuel. Storyteller comes with the story. We make our bodies still, and our hands still, and our mouths still, and get ready to wonder. When the people of God came into the promised land, they brought with them the ark with the stone tablets and the 10 best ways to live. It had been with them. And they went to Shiloh and set up the tent for God. And that's where the ark would live. The people spread out in the hills around Shiloh, and Elkanah and Hannah were people who lived in Ramah nearby. They would come to the meeting tent to pray. And one day, the priest at the tent for God saw Hannah out in front of the tent, praying so deeply, he became concerned. You see, Hannah wanted a child so very much, but she did not have one. And when the priest Eli asked her about this, she told him, and so he prayed with her. God heard that prayer and answered the prayer with a child for Hannah and Elkanah, a little boy. And they named him Samuel, which means, in their language, someone who is sent from God. For they believed that this child truly was sent to them from God. They took care of their baby, who became a little boy. And when he became a bigger boy, they returned to the meeting tent. And they asked Eli to teach Samuel, to teach him how to read and to write and to learn in the ways of the 10 best ways to live. And Eli agreed to do that. Every year, they would come and bring a new coat for Samuel. For of course, he continued to grow. They would visit him and see how he was growing wise and strong as he worked with Eli and learned from him. Samuel was learning how to care for the tent for God and all the things in it. The lampstand, the table, the altar, to care for the laver in front for the priests who would enter. So he slept right there, as the priests did. He had a mat. One night, while Samuel was sleeping, he heard a voice. Samuel, Samuel. He got up and ran to Eli and said, I'm here. What do you need? And Eli said, I didn't call you. Go back to bed. And so Samuel did. This happened 2 more times. Samuel, Samuel. And on the 3rd time, Eli understood. He told Samuel, go back to your mat and lie down and wait. And this time, when you hear the voice, say, your servant hears you, Lord, and I am here. And that's what he did. So when he heard the voice call his name, he answered. And then he listened. It wasn't something happy that he heard. God came very close to Samuel and told him of what would happen, that the people of God and even Eli's own sons, they would lose the ark and be taken prisoners. They would be killed. It was a heavy burden for Samuel to bear with this news. And when the day came, the news arrived that in fact, in war, the people had lost the ark, and Eli's own sons had been killed. When the news came, Eli dropped and he died. Without the meeting tent and the priests, there was nothing to keep Samuel at Shiloh, and so he went home to Ramah to live with his mother and father, Elkanah and Hannah. But he became someone important. He became a leader because he had not been with Eli for no reason. He became a leader known as a judge. He was very wise. He grew full of years. And as people sometimes do when they grow full of years, he retreated. He retreated from leadership. But the people did not forget. And so one day, when Samuel was getting old, the people came to him and they said that they needed a new leader, a new king. At that time, kings were anointed with oil that had been blessed. Maybe a little bit like this sweet-smelling oil in this bottle. If you were here at the circle, I'd pass this around for you to smell. And so, Samuel had to do what he felt God was asking him to do through the people who had come to him. And so he set out to find a new king. And when he saw Saul, he knew right away that Saul would be the king. He poured the sweet-smelling oil that had been blessed on Saul's head, and he became the king. But the Spirit left Saul, and evil began to take over. And once again, the people came to Samuel and told him that they were going to need a new king. And so even though he was very full of years, once more Samuel set out. And this time, he went to the house of Jesse in search of a new king. He met Jesse's sons and then asked if there wasn't another son. And indeed there was, a boy, David, a shepherd boy. Once again, because Samuel was so close to God and God was so close to Samuel, he knew that David would be the one. And once again, he used the sweet-smelling oil to signal that David would be the king. It would not happen until Saul had died. But once again, Samuel fulfilled what God had asked of him, starting back when he was just a boy at the tent for God. After that, Samuel went back to Ramah, and people remembered him and told stories about him, always as the boy who was sent from God and stayed close to God and followed what God asked of him. I wonder what part of this story of Samuel you like the best. I wonder if there's a part of this story that you think was the most important, or maybe it's the most important for you today. I wonder if it's listening. I wonder if it's praying. I wonder if it's doing what God asks us to do. I wonder if there's a part of this story where you can find yourself. Where would you be in this story? Where are you in this story? What part of this story might be about you? Perhaps when you want something so much it almost hurts, and someone helps you pray. Perhaps some of you find yourself in the place where you think your work is done, but once again you are called. I wonder if there's a part of this story that you might want to make your own. Here in this room, we get to work. Some of you like to work with the story. But some of you like to go to the shelves and get out clay or paints, markers, craft materials, Maybe you would make a coat for Samuel like his mother brought to him each year in Shiloh. Whatever it might be, the way that you make this story your own, I hope that you will always wonder about it. As we put the materials for the story away, and for those of you who are working, of course, you're putting your art materials away. Sometimes we put them away to work on them again the next Sunday. Some projects take longer. We get ready to share the feast. In this room, we have the feast every Sunday. It's a really special time for us to come together, and we start with prayer. We take turns going around the circle. Some people like to pray out loud, but not everybody. Some people like to pray so that only God hears them. But we have a prayer cross. Sometimes it is helpful for us to just hold on to something, to feel our prayer rise in us. We always keep ourselves still so that everybody at the circle who wants to pray will have a chance. And at the end, we just say amen, and we pass the prayer cross to the next person. It comes back here to the storyteller. And then we together say the prayer that Jesus taught us so long ago and keeps teaching us. And then it's time for our feast. It's simple. It's not like the kind of feast we have perhaps at Thanksgiving, for example. This feast we do to remember. We remember when Jesus went to the upper room with his friends. He went to that upper room to have a meal. He knew it would be his last meal. At the end of that meal, he took the bread and he blessed it and broke it. And he said, "Take and eat all of this." We use the matzah because it's loaded with memories. Besides the bread of Jesus' last meal with his friends, the matzah reminds us when the people ran into the desert and had no time to get away. They couldn't let the bread rise. So we always have a taste of the desert when we have our feast. At the end of that supper, Jesus also took the cup and he blessed it and said, "Take and drink all of this. This is my promise to you that I will be with you when you come together in my name. I will be with you." Even now in this room on this rug. Some people use juice like we do when we're in the sanctuary. We like to use water in this room because it reminds us of the waters of creation, the water that is all water, the water of the great flood, the waters the people went through to freedom, the water of baptism. So I hope where you are that you have some bread or perhaps some matzah even, and a cup, and that you can share this feast until the time that we can come together when it's safe again and share it together. Until that time, may the Lord bless you and keep you always. Please stay safe and stay well.